Hello, Jack Olesker coming at you. Okay, I owe everybody, I mean everybody, a huge apology for missing dropping a vlog installment on Tuesday. I had my rest of my lifetime pneumonia vaccination. I thought I was going to be just fine. It'll be a cakewalk. Bam! Okay, it was like I got hit by a Mack truck. But the nice thing is, my pharmacist and doctor, not one and the same, they both tell me, that's it, I'm done. I don't have to worry about pneumonia, he said, coughing, for the rest of my life. So that's really a good thing at my age. So nonetheless, I'm really, really sorry that I didn't drop. I should have gone on and said, we can't do it because, I'm not feeling well. But I didn't, and mea culpa. I'm apologizing if anybody had any inconvenience looking for the installments, but I can guarantee you we're back. So here we are. And what are we doing? We're talking about Predicaments, which is my live action video game show that I'm going to be doing for Mattel with Joan Rivers, superstar Joan Rivers. Back in those days, Gordon Jump from WKRP, big star, Lou Leonard, Artie Johnson. Names that a lot of you guys don't remember, but I'm pretty sure everybody remembers Joan Rivers. So, and wow, what a charming gal, I got to tell you. I'll fast forward about 10 years. After Predicaments, I happened to be in New York on a business trip, and Joan was playing in a wonderful Broadway show called Speed the Plow. And it was written by Chicago playwright and writer David Mamet, who famously wrote Glengarry Glen Ross. David, I mean, what a towering talent. But Joan was starring in this Broadway show, and on an odd whim, I called her up and I spoke to her publicist, and I said, "Oh, I worked with Joan years ago on a project called Predicaments, and I happen to be in New York. I just want to see if I could touch base with her." And I want to tell you, in an hour, Joan herself calls me back. I mean, look, at the time, all right, I was coming up strong, but, Joan Rivers, I mean, give me a break, okay? Every female comedian in the world owes a huge debt to Joan Rivers, okay? So she calls me up. She says, "Jack, I remember Predicaments. I loved it. It was so much fun. Listen, I'm doing Speed the Plow here on Broadway. I'll be finished with the performance at 10 o'clock. She says, I'm going to send a limo to your hotel. I'll pick you up and we'll go to dinner." Well, you don't turn down Joan Rivers. So 10 o'clock, right on time, there's the limo in front. I get in the limo and we go to this wonderful, wonderful small restaurant. I walk in and Joan is sitting at a table. On her lap, she's got a little Yorkshire Terrier. I said, "Who's that?" And she says, "This is Spike." She says, "Spike goes with me wherever I go." So, you're with Joan, and, it's a fast track with her, man. The one-liners are coming left and right, and they got a little combo, a little band there, and we're sitting and we ordered drinks and stuff, and I turned to Joan and I say, "You know what time it is?" She says, "What time?" She looks at her watch. I said, "No, don't look at your watch." She says, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's time to dance." I hold my hand out to her. She takes my hand. We get up. We go out onto the middle of the floor, and we dance for like about 5 minutes. Everybody's applauding. So that was a great Joan Rivers story. But going back to Predicaments. So we left the last installment. Kevin says, you're not ready to write yet because I got a co-writer that you're going to be working with. And I'm going to call him Doug, because when I tell stories that, don't put a person in the best possible light, some people can't be put in a good light. I don't like to use real names, okay? So, and remember, by the way, that, well, no, I'll get to that later. So Kevin says, you got to meet Doug. So okay, I'm in the writer's wing. I don't see anybody new that's moved in. So Kevin leads me through the hallway, and it's the executive wing on the other side of the studio. And there's an office right next to Kevin's. And we walk in, and the guy's back is to me. And he says, Doug, he says, I want you to meet Jack Olesker. And he turns around and used to have file cabinets in those days, okay? I don't know if any of you remember file cabinets, but he shoves this file cabinet closed. You would have thought that he had the recipe for Coca-Cola that's in a vault in Atlanta somewhere. So he looks at me and he says, hi, how are you? And look, I get it, okay? It's not easy coming into a studio. You're the odd man out and everything. And I try to be, my usual charming self. And I can tell he's like very, like, I can't put the word protective, I would say. Guarded. Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you very much. Guarded. That's exactly what he was. He was guarded. And again, I understand you're coming into a new environment, but it kind of struck me that it was odd that his office was right next to Kevin's. So whatever, I put all this away. We've got a lot of work to do. Kevin leaves it to us alone. I said, really excited to be working with you, Doug. Let's get into it. I can start working on the characters for a little mini series Bible we'll do, and you can do the locations, for this mansion that we're going to have all the soap opera machinations and serpentine plots going on. You can do all the locations, and then we'll work together on what the storylines are. And after I tell him all this, which took about 30 seconds, he says, this was his catchphrase. He'd say, wait a minute. I heard this 30 times in the short time I was working with him. Wait a minute. So I said, what is it? He says, we have to talk this out. And talk he did. And I'm telling you, he would go into this circular logic, and he'd go on pontificating for like 20 minutes about one character, and it didn't mean anything. And the thing that would like drive you out of your mind is that when he would talk, everything was seamless, okay? He could be talking about the Archduke Franz Ferdinand getting assassinated, which was the starting point of World War I, and then immediately go to talking about the Bermuda Triangle, which is as far located from the Archduke Franz Ferdinand as you can imagine, and there would be no space between those two subjects. And I went through that the first night with him for 3 hours, and I walked out and I was exhausted. But the guy's here. Now, you got to remember, this was like 1988, something like that. It's probably 3 or 4 years before IMDb came out. IMDb is a database for the motion picture and television industry. Very valuable tool, especially for new and young and up-and-coming writers. Older writers that have been around for 1,000 years, like me, you can look up my IMDb, but I haven't updated it in the last 15 years. Everybody who knows me, the head of DreamWorks Animation, the president, Andy Hayward, Haim Saban, everybody knows me, knows my history, okay? Avi Arad, who ran Marvel for many years and then did Iron Man and Avengers. They know my history. They know who I am. I don't have to post on IMDb. But IMDb is very valuable for young and upcoming writers and actors that want to get their resume out there. It's one-stop shopping. You just put their name in, you bring it up on the computer, and there it is. But we didn't have IMDb back then. So after about 2 or 3 of these meetings, like, oh God, Doug, where I'm getting drained, I start to get a hunch that something's just not quite right. And I start to do some detective work. And I'm digging, and I can't find nothing about this guy. It's like he's in the witness protection, organization. And I mean, there's this great scene when Will Smith is going into Men in Black and he puts his fingers on this globe and it like burns his fingerprints off. And this guy, there was nothing on him. So, Occam's razor says that when all things are considered, the most logical answer is the correct answer. So, all things considered, the guy's got no history in the industry. I can't find a single writing credit for him. His office is right next door to Kevin's, okay? The guy is, as Kim said, guarded, okay? And goes on and on and on. The only thing I can figure out is that this is Kevin's guy, okay? And look, there's nothing wrong with it, okay? I broke into DIC because I was Jean's guy, okay? I get it. You have relationships, you have friendships. You try to bring your friends in. You want to make sure that they're able to write if you're going to try to bring them in as a writer, or they can produce if you're going to bring them in as a producer. But I came to the conclusion this was Kevin's guy. And I made allowances for it. But after a month had gone on, and Kevin is building sets, he's having auditions, which he was gracious enough to invite me to. He didn't invite Doug to the auditions. And we're getting ready to start shooting. And we don't have one word of the script written. So finally, one dreary night, I go to Kevin and I said, Kevin, we got a problem, okay? And he knew what the problem was. He says, what's going on? And I've told you before, Kevin O'Donnell, what an amazing guy. So talented, movie star, handsome, engaging, charming guy. And he says, what's the problem? I said, look, you know what the problem is. I said, he's your guy. I said, but he's not a writer, okay? I said, we've been going around and around and around. I said, it's been a month. I haven't written a word. I said, look, you asked Lori to lend me out to you for this project because you know that I'm Seabiscuit, Man o' War, Seattle Slew, all wrapped up into one, okay? I'm a racehorse. You open the gate, I'm gone, and you're going to get things delivered to you fast. I said, I can't work like this. So he says, what do you want me to do? And it was an ironic moment because that was precisely what I asked Kevin when I was saddled with that slow story editor. And he told me without blinking, you got to get him fired. So I didn't want to say that to him. He's my superior and it's his friend. So the only thing I could say was, Kevin, you know what you have to do. And he kind of slowly nodded. And, it was kind of sad because I know this was his buddy. I know he's trying to give an opportunity. But you can't put lipstick on a pig. You can't take, it's like Kim told me years ago when we were in the Bahamas. She said, oh, we all write. I said, no, we all spell. We don't all write. Writing is a different thing. It is a different craft. It is a different art. It takes a long time to develop your skills as an artist and as a writer. You just don't say, okay, here's the paper. Start writing your series Bible. This one happens to be 147 pages long. Well, you don't do that overnight. This kid wanted to be a writer. Well, okay, study, learn your craft, learn the history, and then try to write. But he got thrown into the deep end. And the next day, I came into DIC, and I walked over to Kevin's office, and I stopped at Doug's office, and I looked in. And just like that story editor that I worked with at Care Bears, all his stuff was gone. And he just got sucked into the same hole that Luke Skywalker and Han Solo got sucked into when they were getting munched up by this creature living down there. I don't know where these people go. I saw years later, I looked up his IMDb, and he had like single credits and on different shows, and I kind of cross-referenced it, and ironically 3 of the shows were shows that Kevin was a producer for, and they were one-offs. He got like 1 episode, and Kevin was trying to throw him a bone, but I get it because that's what Jean did for me. But I was an established writer, so that was it. Ring! The gates opened up, the Seabiscuit was off, and I started working on the pilot episode of Predicaments. And in the next episode, we're going to go to the set, and you're going to see what it's like to film a live action show with a superstar like Joan Rivers. Subscribe. Kim's nodding. She's very proud of me for remembering that, right, honey? Right. How about that?
Very.
Subscribe and like us, okay? Look, if you like us, get on there and like us. If you want us to keep going, subscribe, okay? And I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.